So my first experience with the Y was when I was 8 years old at Camp Nisqually. And I remember my parents coming to me and saying, oh, hey, like we have something new for you. Like we have this camp brochure, like take a look, see if you want to come. And saw these activities like I'd never done before, like, you know, climbing, high ropes, sailing, all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, like let's give it a shot. So my parents signed me up for camp and signed me up for 2 weeks. And I remember on the drive-in, like you just drive past the gate and you just like get this feeling, like I guess it's like an indescribable feeling, just like excitement, like, you know, anxious to see what it was all going to be about. And little 8-year-old Lainey was like, I don't know what's going on right now, but, you know, we'll see what happens. And, you know, I tried all the activities. I really liked them. I liked evening activities. Like I got super close with the girls in my cabin. And, you know, after 2 weeks, I told my parents, you know, I don't want to leave, which was interesting because, you know, I was a homebody as a young kid. So me being like, oh, I don't want to leave, like, you know, let me stay longer, which, I mean, it was kind of interesting because I was very shy, and then I ended up being really, really outgoing by the end of it. So I told my parents, oh, I want to come back next year. So my parents sent me the next year, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year. And yeah, and then I remember seeing the LITs and the CITs, and I always thought they were really cool. And I'm like, oh, one day I want to be a leader in training, and I want to be a counselor in training. So I just kept coming back to camp, and then I finally was an LIT, and I was really excited because I really, like, I wanted to go on the canoe trip. I wanted to, you know, be more than just a camper. And I remember my LIT year was probably one of the most impactful years of camp for me because I met a ton of people that I basically grew up through Nisqually with. So, you know, I met my best friends in that group, had all these, like, crazy experiences that I never thought, you know, I'd get a chance to have. And we got really, really close, and, you know, we all said, oh, you know, we're going to come back to be counselors in training the next year. So we all came back as counselors in training, and we just, you know, we bonded even more, and, you know, the people became my best friends. You know, we got to do what we always thought, like, we wanted to do. Like, the goal as a camper is, oh, I want to be like my counselors. Like, I want to be that person. And, like, as a junior counselor, I guess that was, like, the first step to becoming that. Like, you got to become the mentor, and you have the opportunity, like, to impact campers, like, to give them the same experience that I had. Like, that's why I, you know, went up through all those years, because I wanted to eventually, like, provide the same experience to campers that I had. Putting yourself last, like, being selfless and, like, taking care of kids is, like, a huge responsibility, and just getting to do that is something that, you know, it's priceless. It's easy to have a conversation about, like, how much I love camp and stuff, but I don't know. It's been, like, a part of my life for like 11 summers now. So I became a lifeguard and high ropes trained, and I don't know, being high ropes trained was like a huge thing for me because as a camper I always did climbing clinic. Like, I always wanted to do high ropes, and I remember the staff members that, you know, I remember the first staff member who, you know, put me up the climbing wall, and I remember the first one who, you know, sent me down the zip line. And for me, being able to be in that role was like, it's like, it gives you a flashback in time. And being a counselor means a lot to me because, I don't know, being able to impact kids, like, you'll never know the full impact that you make on kids, but I believe in the impact that camp can have on people. Like myself, you know, I came in as a shy 8-year-old, and then, you know, how I am at this moment, I'm confident. I have like better social skills, I know, because of it, because having to interact with kids your own age is something that, you know, we don't do enough in these days of technology. You know, some kids, they come from backgrounds, like, you don't know you don't know where they're coming from, you don't know what their home life is like, you don't know, you know, what they deal with on a daily basis, but they can come to camp, and it's kind of like a untouched bubble. It's nice to be able to take kids out of the real world for a minute and put them in this kind of like utopia. You know, we have fun all day long, and at the end of the day you go to sleep and you're exhausted because, you know, you're running around from, you know, archery to swimming and then zip line. Like, there's so many things to, like, you don't even have time to think about anything else than what you're doing in that exact moment. Kids, like, they deal with a lot of things, like maybe things, you know, tougher than I've even had to deal with, and, you know, that makes me have a lot of, you know, passion for it, because I know that, you know, these kids, this time at camp, like, this is where kids can kind of, you know, get things off their chests and just say, like, hey, like, I'm struggling with this, like, can you help me? Or, like, just simply sharing, like, their story with you as a counselor when they feel comfortable enough to do that. Like, that was very powerful for me. Why send your kids to camp? There's so many reasons why you should send your kids to camp. I wait all year round to come back to camp. Like as soon as I leave camp, I'm already counting down the days to when camp starts again. I can say from personal experience that my parents were very anxious about letting me stay, like just leaving me here with total strangers. But after explaining to them like how much, my counselors were with me all day, the counselors facilitate all the activities, like we're never by ourselves, you're in your cabin group most of the time, and then you're with other counselors during specialty time, you are supervised 100% of the day. There's not a moment where you're left alone, and just my parents, just hearing that, I was never left alone, I was always with my counselor, that made them feel better. That made, that reassured them that nothing was going to happen to me, and as staff, safety is our number 1 priority. Also send your kids to camp because, they'll have a lot of fun away from the TV, just sitting around at home. They're out in the environment all day. They get to swim in a lake. They get to, wakeboard, water ski. They get to climb. They don't have another opportunity to do that, really. People in general, they don't understand it. When you talk, oh, I'm going to be a camp counselor for the whole summer, and, I get to stay with kids 24 hours a day, basically, and live in cabins with them. They're kind of taken back. Are you serious? This is your job? And I'm yeah, I do this because I love it. I love the people I'm surrounded with. I love the staff members. We make lifelong friendships with them, and the kids in our cabin make lifelong friendships as well. So being on staff is something that just doesn't compare to any other job. I know this will be the best job I'll ever have, and if I could do this forever, I probably would. Camp in one word would have to be home, because I feel when I come to camp, it's just you just jump right back into it. It just feels welcoming. Everyone here just, welcomes you. They're happy to see you. It's just comfortable. It's just comfortable to be in an environment where everyone supports you. It's just, yeah, it's home.